Wednesday, August 15th, 2018, Board of Selectmen meeting to order. The meeting is being audio and video recorded and will be shown on local access television and online. If you'd please stand and join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First and most importantly, we have former town moderator, Marion Leonard, here tonight. Marion served as the first woman moderator for the town of West Bridgewater, and she graciously served this past June for our annual town meeting. I have a certificate of recognition if Denise would like to.
Sure, glad to. I have a little bit to say.
Of course.
Want me to sit down too?
No, please come up. Please come up, right on up. We didn't get to work together too long, so we don't know each other.
Briefly at the town meeting.
Right. So I read a little bit about what makes up a good moderator. And
I didn't follow that.
Oh, I think you did. I think you did. It said someone who is neutral, respectful, fair and reasonable, builds a rapport, and has a good sense of humor. So I think you covered it all.
Thank you.
You did a great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you answered the call when we needed you the most.
Well,
so thank you. Thanks
you do what you
from
do.
all of us. You know.
Thank you very much.
And this is the picture and plaque that will hang downstairs in the McDonald Brown Room.
Oh, those flowers are bougainvillea. Aren't they beautiful?
So that will be hung downstairs.
Thank you.
And I know Jerry's the one who initiated this a few months ago before you left the board, and I think he had a couple of comments to make.
I just want to say a few years back we wanted to honor our first female town clerk and our first female selectman, which was Anna Brown and Marjorie McDonald. And I thought it being very fitting. First of all, we were both elected together in the same year in 2006. Yes. And so I thought it would be great to honor another woman in our town that's not only been a great neighbor, a great bus driver, but also a great moderator, and should duly be recognized.
Don't forget the town
clerk.
Well,
town clerk also, but should be recognized for being our first female to play that role, and you played it very well. So now you will hang in the meeting room downstairs with great honor alongside Anna Brown and Marjorie McDonald.
Thank you.
So thank you.
I never even realized, I never even thought about being the first female moderator until you brought it up, and I thought, gee, I was.
Yeah, you were. So.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No.
And just
Flowers and everything.
Thank you, Marion.
Mr. Chair, if we could do this, could we get a picture of Marion with the full board?
Of course.
Of course. Yeah, you can do the flowers.
Back here, if you want to come.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
We have tight quarters here.
I know, that's all right. We could take the sign here, sticker off it though.
Anthony.
Oh, anywhere you want.
You can be right
Hold the
now.
plaque up.
Anywhere you want.
Eldon, you want to hold the plaque?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
You know, Marion, the toughest part of it all was getting a picture of you that you wouldn't kill us for hanging up.
That was tough.
Yeah, well, that was.
Thank you.
And we were in Florida, so I had to.
Jerry, you should have told me.
Yeah. I'm sure she would have loved that picture.
Yeah.
That's why you didn't call.
Jerry, I'm glad you didn't call Dana.
I knew who to go to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marion.
Thanks, Eldon.
Thanks very much.
Those sign here stickers get us every time.
Yeah.
The chief is outside, I can go and get
Yeah,
him.
sure.
Absolutely.
We'll make room for everybody. Thank you.
Oh, no. You caught me.
I'll read this. Do you want to present with that?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Do you have anything to say?
I just wrote some things. Wait until you two do all of it. I was supposed to write something.
Denise, you know what we need is a foot pedal under there for you. So in the lulls, you can take your foot off, the AC comes back on.
Is that on?
No, that is for that, but I mean for the AC.
Oh, there's
So you never, whenever there's a lull, just take your foot off, blows in some cold air. I'm just checking on the progress of that project.
Honey, how you doing?
All right, good, how are you?
Good. All right, so now we have Len Hunt, who served as our longtime fire chief. I promise no bad jokes from David this time. So we have something for you that didn't come in time. We're sorry for that, so we wanted to have you in again. So I have proclamation thanking you for your many years of service and dedication to the town. I'll read it aloud. Proclamation of the Board of Selectmen. Whereas Leonard Hunt began his service with the West Bridgewater Fire Department in January of 1971 and served with honor and distinction through December 31st, 2017. And whereas while the West Bridgewater Fire Department, Leonard T. Hunt served the community and residents of West Bridgewater, Massachusetts with dedication and unwavering commitment for 46 years, and whereas Leonard Hunt began his career as a firefighter in January of 1971 as a part-time call firefighter, was promoted to full-time in June of 1973, became one of only 4 full-time firefighters in West Bridgewater at the time. Leonard Hunt quickly climbed the ranks of the rapidly growing department and became deputy chief in 1981, and on November 4th, 1989, he was appointed to the honorable rank of fire chief, a position he held for 28 years. Resolved that the town of West Bridgewater recognizes Leonard Hunt's 46 years of exemplary service with the West Bridgewater Fire Department and to the public. And further, we, the Board of Selectmen of the town of West Bridgewater, present Leonard Hunt a plaque recognizing the dedication and commitment that he has put forth during his time serving the community and the residents of West Bridgewater, Massachusetts. Signed, the Board of Selectmen. Thank you, Lenny.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say, just kind of, at your banquet there, it's kind of Sammy there, and we looked around for the proclamation, it wasn't there, and I said, what is this? The state had their proclamations, and they says, I don't know. So I just stood there. I've been there. I pointed you there. I've been there all the way through your career. You built the fire department for what it is today. From a call fire department to what we have today. It took a lot of hard work, and there was a lot of days there. And I'm sitting there kind of stammering there, and I said, so when I get back, first thing I called is the new chief, and I said, we got to do something about this. He said, what do you want to do? I said, we got to rededicate it, do something here. I said, so I brought it to the board, and the board agreed with me that we should bring you before us. And this is what we're doing tonight, because we really appreciate what he's done for this community. It certainly shows, and you built that fire department up from the call from what it is today. And you did a tremendous job, and we all applaud that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lenny.
Denise.
So the first time we met was when you came in to Finance Committee and presented your budget. And I wish we had more time to work together other than from the Finance Committee meetings. But I believe one of the signs of a strong leader is seen through the team that they build. And firefighters must be brave and compassionate, fierce and thoughtful, when put in the most difficult situations. And I want to thank you for your service and for building a team of West Bridgewater firefighters upon which you've instilled these characteristics, ethics, and integrity. You should be very proud of all that you did, and we thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad you made it. We also have a plaque, West Bridgewater Fire Department, Chief Leonard Hunt, T. Hunt, in recognition of 46 years of dedicated service, 1971 to 2017. Thank you very much, Chief. Maybe we could come up here and have a little picture. Have a few pictures here. Glad to come up here.
What do you want to do this?
No, just
I know you.
come in. No.
Very good.
Where you going, so I know?
All right. All right, thank you. Chief?
Do we?
Chief?
Jason, do you want them all to sign in?
You're not staying for the rest of the meeting?
If you'd like me to, I mean.
I go to enough selectors meetings.
All right, thanks again.
Thank you.
Take care now, yeah. Have a nice night.
Thank you.
Tracy's getting the Girl Scouts now.
We're ready. I'm assuming this is the Girl Scouts?
Yes, it is.
So, my understanding is you guys have a presentation that you'd like us to see?
Good evening, Selectmen. Thank you for having us here tonight.
We are Juniors Troop 88020 from Girl Scouts.
My name is Sanmai.
My name is Rachel. And I'm Katie. For our Bronze Award project, we have decided to build and install a free little library here in West Bridgewater. A free little library is a box-like structure that holds books for people to take, borrow, or swap. Some history behind the free little library is that it originated in 2009. It was started in Hudson, Wisconsin by Todd Bull. Todd started this because his mother was a teacher and she loved to read. Rick Burks from the University of Wisconsin at Madison helped him build this project. Their goal was to make 2,508 free little libraries, but in 2017 they reached 60,000. We plan to register our library with the Free Little Libraries organization.
We wanted to target people who don't have access to books, and as well as encourage people into the wonderful world of literature. We would also like to have the other troops in West Bridgewater help us make kindness rocks to surround our free little library, which is shown in the model.
Some people we talked to are Chief May from the Fire Department, Chief Flaherty from the Police Department, Miss Ellen, the Head Librarian, Mr. Iantelli from the Highway Department, Miss Iantelli, the Town Clerk, and lastly, the Town Manager. People that helped and donated were the Police Station, Fire Department, Town Clerk, the Highway Department, the 3D printer at the West Bridgewater Library, Raincoat Steaks, Irving's Home Center, Paul D. Agostino from the Avon Home Depot, and everyone that donated books. The first location we thought of was Friendship Park, but that was too close to the library. We also thought about putting it at Esther Drive, but when we came up with a better idea to put it at War Memorial Park. This is a great location to curl up reading a book. We hope you will agree. One of the concerns we had was vandalism, but after we spoke to the Chief of Police, he said that if we had any problems, he could install a camera for us. Another concern we had was having it on a busy road, but we think War Memorial Park will be a quiet location. We plan to check on the Free Little Library often to watch for any issues that might arise and to keep it stocked with books.
We took pieces of plywood to build the project. We did an angled roof to run water down and as well as avoid snow from getting inside the box itself and damaging the books. We painted it and made it waterproof and weatherproof as well. All materials were funded from donations that we received from different locations and our troop money. We plan to open our box at Park Day with a ribbon cutting ceremony. This is so people can enjoy a good book while attending Park Day. We hope to get your approval about installing our project. Thank you for your time this evening.
It's a great idea, it's a great picture of it right here.
Yeah.
We have.
And that was a great presentation.
Yeah.
Way better than I could do. Yeah, I think this is awesome. We also have the gentleman who runs Park Day right there, so maybe he can help you out with a celebration. If we could have a vote of the board to approve.
I'll make a motion to make this a reality.
Do we need to run this by planning board or? I'm only kidding. Absolutely, great job.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations, thank you.
Thank you.
Great presentation.
Thank you, and I'm sure you want your model back.
That's just me, John.
Thank you.
They did great.
Yeah,
Was
that was really good. I
organized.
can't present like that. I stutter.
I think they can teach us all a thing or two. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, that was really good.
That was really, really good.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? They spoke well.
Oh, we're way ahead. Annie, did you want to go next?
Sure.
So we'll skip down to the ADA ballot machines.
So this woman back here, this is Joan Shea. She is the chairman of the ADA committee, and they had come to me wanting to do a demonstration of the AutoMARK machine for people so that they would know what it was for elections. We've had it for years. It's a machine that will mark the ballot for people who have disabilities or difficulties marking the ballot themselves. You insert the ballot in, you can listen to a headset and it will read the ballot to you. You can touch screen to pick who you want on the ballot. You can contrast it if you have difficulty seeing. You can enlarge it. It has Braille on it. It also has side buttons. It's a great tool, and not many people use it. And I think it's because a lot of people are uncomfortable with how it works and what it does. So we've come up with two demonstrations, one on August 20th at 12:30 at the Counseling on Aging, and one on August 22nd at 10 a.m. at Esther Drive. And I have received a mock election from ES&S, which is the company that services the AutoMARK. And I've received ballots so people can come and test it out and try it themselves and hopefully make it available to more people, and they'll be comfortable to use it that don't use it and have difficulties on their own filling out the ballots. So I just wanted to inform you guys of these demonstrations and get it out, another way to get it out to the public to let them know that we're having them.
Yeah, that's great. You've had them for a couple of years, right? But you said
I've had,
how long?
the AutoMARK's been at the polls for years, like 20 or so years, even more probably.
Oh, wow.
But not many people, if we are lucky, we have one person use it. So, and it would
great.
help
Get the
so
word out.
many people out that are even people that are uncomfortable coming to the polls because they have difficulty filling out the ballots. They can use this machine.
Yeah.
And anyone can use it, even if you don't have a disability or a difficulty. Like you guys could come and try it out at an election and see how it works. And pass the word along because I'd like to see it used more.
Thank you. Any questions?
There's no correct, no affiliation with Moderator.
No, no. No, it's independent,
Okay.
yes. And what it does is it marks the ballot and then it spits the ballot back out. And you
Unbelievable,
take
yeah.
the ballot and you pass it through the tabulator and
Unbelievable,
it
yeah.
tabulates it.
Annie
So-
mentioned it will be videotaped, so if we
It will
can
be.
share the videotape out on the web.
Yep, yep.
So just invite everybody to come, see it.
Yeah, come see it, come
Try it.
try it out
Try it
and
out.
get comfortable with it and then maybe more people will use it. That's it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Do you communicate this to the Life Care Center? Because I know a lot of those people, that's kind of a resident for a lot of them, so might be a
Yeah.
good place to let them know where to train on it.
The thing about the AutoMAK machine, though, is that they would have to come to the polls, and a lot of them cannot come to the polls, so we do mainly absentee ballots through them, where they fill out the applications. And we will also, at these demonstrations, talk about absentee ballot applications for people that cannot physically get themselves there. And that's usually the way it is at Life Care.
Thank you.
Oh, you're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Annie.
We have 4 employments to ratify. First, we have Robert Ross for the DPW. He has a personal conflict tonight, so he isn't able to be here. David, when is his start date?
Yep, so, yeah, I thought so. So he's already started, I think he started on Monday. But we posted for the position back in July. We had about 10 applicants for the position. We brought that down to 4. We then did second interviews of 2, and Mr. Ross was selected. So per the hiring policy, we've made an employment decision, but as a personnel board, you would just ratify that position. So that's why it's before you for this evening.
I know he's got great experience in driving truck, but how is he pick and shovel?
Well, that was certainly,
Is
that was certainly
one
part
the
of,
questions was
yep,
asked,
that
I
was,
read?
that was part of the interview process.
Okay, he's all right with that? Okay.
Okay, is there a motion to ratify the employment contract?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next, we have Lorna Hutchings, who's our new confidential secretary, right here next to David. Lorna comes from, she was a military police officer, and then a paralegal most recently. I think she'll be a great addition to the team. I don't know if, would you like to say anything, introduce yourself at all?
I was just going to say what you kind of outlined. I was a military police officer in the Marine Corps, got into the administrative side of law, was a paralegal, and now I'm happy to be here with the town of West Bridgewater, so thank you.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions from the board, or is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to, to that effect, I heard.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Assistant Tax Collector Victoria Trumball.
So she's here, so again, we posted for this position, as you know. We've had a very long-term employee retire, and so we posted for the position in July. We actually received over 200 applicants. We brought that down to a smaller count, did initial interviews, did final interviews of 3, and Victoria was selected. So, Victoria, if you want to come up, you're more than welcome to address the board.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to join the team, ready to learn. So my background is actually, right now I work at the university. I'm in the financial aid department. So I counsel students for financial aid purposes. Before that, I was in public accounting. So I was at PricewaterhouseCoopers, where I was doing state and local tax. So I do have a little bit of tax experience, and I'm definitely ready to learn more. So thank you for having me.
Great. Well done. Thank you.
Anthony, can we talk to the public? How much are these salaries and what kind of benefits are they getting?
We'll hold off until public comment period for that. Is there a motion or any questions from the board?
No questions, I'll make a
I have no
motion.
questions.
Okay, is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Jacob Inc., firefighter.
Yep, he may not be here yet because we're ahead of schedule.
Okay, so is he planning on being here, Kenny?
He is.
Okay. We'll hold off on that for now. We're going to take the Friends of the Library out of order. They're asking for a one-day entertainment and liquor license on October 20th. Jerry, if you'd like to speak to that as Chair of the Library Trustees.
Yes, thank you for having me. On behalf of the library trustees and the Friends of the Library, we're here today asking for a one-day entertainment and liquor license. The liquor will consist of just beer, so actually just be beer and wine. We want to hold an event at the library on October 20th. We're working with friends up at Barrett's Ale House is assisting us hold our event, and it's going to be called the Night at the Library, and it's a beer tasting that'll take place out in the parking lot in what we call the Reading Pines Park, which is just a little bench area out in front of the library. Our library's been doing numerous things to serve a wider variety of services and to our community, and we'll focus this around a microbrewing, library book choices and whatnot, and really just think it's a great activity to help raise money for the library and get more people to the library and see we're not just about books. I have met with the police chief. I chatted briefly with the fire chief and filed the paperwork with the school department, who I'm told we have no problems for the use of their parking lot. And I also spoke and signed off with the senior center for use of their parking lots. Police chief and I, if approved, will work out any type of security details he's going to require. He seemed very in favor of it, thought it was a great project, and Barrett's has been super helpful, and we hope we'll get the one-day license for the event.
Thank you, Jerry. Tracy, did you have any comments, concerns, anything?
Everything is in order. The only thing that's outstanding is just, I just need to have a conversation with the building inspector, so if you're inclined to approve it, it would just be subject to final department approval.
Okay, are there any questions from the board?
The only question I had, Jerry, was, just some concern of, is there any risk of people being overserved?
Well, we just went to a fabulous event. It was the in Easton at their event, and everybody that will be serving, again, we're using Barrett's is helping us out with it, and hopefully a lot of the beer distributors. Jed and myself are both taking the TIPS class, so we'll both be TIPS certified, along with anyone else that wants to take the class with us. We're going to do the online, and of course all the staff at Barrett's is TIPS certified, and the distributors will probably be having their own people serve. The law only allows you to give away a 9-ounce glass of beer, and the lines get pretty long, so it's very hard to get overserved at only 9 little ounces. And in fact, they don't even really fill the 9-ounce glass, so it's more of a tasting.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, anything's possible, but that's why everybody, we just gotta watch the service.
When I first saw it, I saw it online. I was like, that's kind of strange, beer and books. But then I did find other towns are doing it, and
I really thought I was cute coming up with a name, the library, but it actually is an organization in California where it is a library and brewery in one. And they had the Night at the Museum, which was the museum in Easton, and it's a wonderful, long-running community event, and it's very successful for them. So we hope to have a much smaller version of that. But it really ties in. Ellen's really trying to get the younger people to come back to the library and see everything we have to offer, which isn't just books and newspapers, which is the mentality we need to get out of people's heads. It's a little bit of everything.
Ellen, did you have any?
No, I don't have any questions, because I think the thing was covered very well, and Jerry does into this business anyhow at the park every year there, so he certainly got the experience to do some of these things.
Okay.
It's going to be a fun event.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to grant.
And that's subject to building inspector
Building
approval?
inspector and all the rest approvals.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all very much. Hope we'll see you all there.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay, Steve, you want to come on up?
Sure.
I'll be brief, I promise. Thanks. I just wanted to meet with the board just to discuss for a second John Donahue's contract. We were at the town meeting in June, and you know it comes up time to time. At the time that we were discussing the pay raise from somebody from the floor asked me to go through the salary survey that took place for those. It was part of the decision to give him that raise. And when I started off with Norwell and Situate, I got laughed out of the arena. You know, so that just goes to prove the point that, you know, in a public forum like that, it's awful tough to get across to the people exactly what's going on with that position. I will say this, the reason I'm here, I'm going to bring up a few points, but I'm definitely in favor of, when I saw you meeting on July 11th on the cable station, Anthony, you discussed about, and David too, a possibility about getting a personnel director or something, a human resource director for the town. Because in spots like that, and probably other department heads, it's really a question of really doing your research on a person. In John's case, like I said, we did the salary survey, and the gentleman from the Board of Health was in there talking to you guys, and he was talking about that particular instance. And first of all, I'll say the gentleman had no clue what he was talking about. He was saying, when he was talking to you guys about John's contract and the salary and how, you know, I started off with Norwell and such, that, you know, he was saying that we thought we were going to win that. In other words, you know, we were going to deny the raise and such. He didn't know that we had signed a contract and it was a done deal. And when he said that, we thought we won, meaning, you know, the people on the floor of the taxpayers, you know, in the audience. And I'm thinking, you know, this is far from a game or a foot race. That position down there is taken very seriously, as, you know, as in all department heads in all positions. And what disturbed me about that was the fact that when you take a look at, I'll be brief, I promise. When you take a look at on the salary surveys, when you start like with a Norwood or a Situate, in fact, as he mentioned, you know, those are the more affluent communities. We're just a working class community down here. But I've been doing this a long time, if you guys have heard over and over, and if you look at some of those communities, like the Norwell and Situate, the fact that they're more affluent, it really, as far as degree of difficulty, it makes it easier. On the salary survey, of the 16 communities on the survey, there was only one like us, Mansfield, that was, they call classified, had a large number of commercial industrial properties, pilot programs, you know, talking with the attorney and such, a lot of other stuff aside too. But that definitely sets the pace as, you know, what's the makeup of your community? How much time are you going to spend on the stuff that has high liability to the overlay account and such? Never had a chance to get into that. All those towns, you know, and I didn't even put Easton on the survey. There are 103,000. You know, I said we'll go 16 communities. But, you know, between what I know about the makeup of those communities, and certainly John's qualification, he holds the same thing I do, the general certified license. It's the highest license in the state, appraisal-wise. I know maybe one other one in those communities that has it. Some are residentially, and some don't have it at all. It starts with that, and I keep going on that. I will say that a person that we interviewed for John's job, we interviewed 6 people, a person that we didn't take had hired in a nearby community. And they didn't last 4 months. A second person, same community, 6 months. Another person, another community, because I visit these places. So if there's nobody to hold them by the hand, and they start at that low amount of what is 60,000 or 70,000, certainly you've heard the expression, you're going to get what you pay for. So the reason I'm here tonight, I just want to reiterate that the position, people always say, well, you know, we thought if you got the raise, you would take money off your vendors, you know, contract and stuff, and, you know, maybe we will, maybe we won't. We're trying to at least, you know, even that out. But where we save, John and I worked on it, and I had him do some stuff, he had me do some stuff. A quick example is on a large taxpayer, 3-year assessment of $35 million, tax bill of almost $1 million, downtown attorney, and I know these guys, they come in and they want 5% to go away. Well, in this case here, and a bunch of others, but in smaller versions, he got nothing. We did our homework, and I said to the attorney, you know, we're going to live together and work with each other, so on this one here, you'll nix. John did a lot of work in that case. It's just of why you want to negotiate that contract with that gentleman, because on work like that, he's very solid. And on the pilot program, one of our rooftop jobs is now a template for other assessors of the communities. They use that. You know, we're bringing in some good money to the community because we negotiate along with the town manager, who, by the way, does an excellent job with that stuff. All this stuff being put into the pot, if you will, it equates to the gentleman in that position being John Donahue is certainly worth the money. I can't talk like this at town meeting. Somebody should say to me, what's his qualifications? That might help, but when you got an audience like that who might have their mind made up, a very few can sway so many, it's an awful tough decision. But as you know, we approved the contract, so now by that getting approved and that is actually the raise not being approved, we have to take from other stuff in our budget, which is unfortunate. But the last thing I'll say is that, in my opinion, like I've been doing it a million years, and the guy does an excellent job. If somebody else came in with less money and wasn't being held by the hand, you get some more overlay hits. Oh, and another thing is consultant work. I just did 3 communities. We spent $25,000 in my office to represent them on stuff that John does downstairs. So there's a whole host of things saying why the contract is well deserved.
You know, I speak.
Of course.
I think from the perspective of the townspeople who the Board of Selectmen have to listen to all the time, okay? I mean, they're not, you know, against, you know, somebody, you know, either get a new salary or a new step or an increase. But they're looking for something from it there. And a lot of people that come up to me, they say, what are we doing by, you know, you still have the outside valuation team comes in here to do some of the assessing. Are we going to do more in-house assessing? Is this being done? And these are some of the things, the actual voter out there, and I'm one of the voters too, that are paying for it. They want to know what they're paying, they want to know what they're getting for it, for their money. And I think that's what's lacking in the explanation, because I talk to you quite a bit, and I know what John does, and I know what you guys do as far as the appellate boards, because I communicate with you. And that's one of the biggest problems we're having there is the communication. We need more communication to know exactly what. So, you know, you coming in here to explain what actually is happening out there, it's a big factor, because when they go down and vote, I mean, you know, it's just one meeting we have maybe a year or 2 meetings a year, and that don't tell it all. But from my perspective, when I see what you guys doing, I think you're doing a great job over there.
Yeah, and something I didn't point out was, you know, that when people ask you about, you know, they still have the vendor, you call it, show up.
Yeah.
Well, all those communities, I just mentioned 16 of them, they all have a vendor. And I know, like, right here in our backyard, the Bridgewater, East Bridgewater, they have a John Donahue, if you will, making the same money, and they have an assistant that goes out in the field. So, you know, they have a John plus another half person, plus the vendor. So on that type of thing, they're all over the board. But I know exactly what you're saying, Elder, because unless you can show somebody, you know, a reduction in the vendor price or you know, a gold star on the forehead or some result of his work, which is it's difficult for us to do because, you know, when I have a big taxpayer walk away with a nix, right, also there's a denial notice and that's it, and the overlay account gets saved. But nobody, you know, except, you know, a few people in this room really pay attention to that stuff, so there's no way we can announce what we just did. It's really hard for us to show the exact amount of the savings. Other than that, if we take the vendor's amount right now, it's 20,000, 28, I forget, with the reinspection, and we knock it down, I'm hoping going forward we can keep it kind of stable without those increases, because we will take, believe you me, I'm trying to take some work in-house. It's just that we get busy with these cases and everything else, and there's a lot of other stuff going on too in the course of the day. But, you know, I don't, because the thing I'll say is that the taxpayers, they don't really understand what comprises of, they're not supposed to. I wouldn't if I didn't do it for a living. So I don't blame them coming to you guys saying, what's going on down there? We gave them a raise and, you know, we're still paying this. So I don't blame them at all. You know, they're not supposed to know unless they talk to you guys, you know?
May I say something?
Go ahead.
I think, Steve, one of the issues the taxpayers have is that out in the private sector, increases are 2.5, 3, 3.5 if you're lucky. And in the public sector, here we saw an increase go from 70,000 to 82,000, and it's part of a contract. We've already committed to it before we've seen the performance. So when you compare what's happening in the private sector and then you see that, and you don't have the full comprehension of what, so that...
Part of that's my fault, because I said openly, I want to start it at the lower amount to see, you know, how his performance is. I did state that. Then we'll see. Then we'll, you know, then we'll get into the revision of the year 2 and 3. So that big jump is kind of my fault. He probably should have started, knowing his qualifications, probably like at 78,000. But I said, let's make it more doable, town meeting 70, we'll see how you do, and truthfully, with number of abatements, yeah.
What you're talking about is what's getting us in trouble. I mean, when a person comes in and really proves himself,
Yeah.
and then you look at what other areas do. We
Right.
went through this with Dave Gagne, okay?
Yeah.
And then we look at all the other things, and of course, when we gave him the substantial increase, everybody was after us.
You're right.
I mean.
That's the nature of the beast, you know, you gotta see.
The thing
right.
is, we are hiring maybe at a low scale, and then you look at it, and like I told him, I said right at the time, you get what you pay for, too.
Absolutely, because,
I mean, you know, I don't make those kind of salaries, but I'm not gonna, you know, say that somebody else can't have it, because,
right.
you know, and that's the way it.
All I ask is if somebody does complain to you, you know, constantly, whatever, they have some understanding. A person we hired or didn't hire went to another community, didn't last 4 months.
Aware what Denise is saying there, because they're not making the salaries, but they're paying for these people.
Right.
And that's
Right.
where the problem is.
Yeah, so what I was going to add to that is the fact that it's not just this contract. This one really stood out, but there are many contracts in town where we've seen that these increases are significant, and it's not tied to performance, it's just an automatic. And then you hear that, well, it's to compete with other communities, but the communities that are presented to us as comparable aren't necessarily comparable.
Are those union contracts, when you say performance?
No,
Non-union?
I'm talking non-union
Yeah.
contracts. In addition to that, the contracts aren't necessarily reviewed for all of the legal clauses that are included, and that got us into trouble. You know, specifically the Kruger case. You know, in my opinion, these contracts shouldn't be prepared by a board. They should be prepared by an attorney. And,
Yeah.
and with the attorney's recommendation, and then negotiated, not the other way around. That will get this, and continue to get this town into trouble. So again, what I was pointing out, it was the process this went through,
Sure.
and the perception, and perception is reality.
I think, I was talking to somebody about that, and when you say the attorney, these contracts, that's where, if somehow, some way, what Anthony, you guys said in the previous meeting, if you can bring in some type of human resource person, they would do a lot of that work for you with the attorneys, save your attorney fees. They would know, you know, what's the meat on the bone as far as this person up or job goes, along with some type of grant writer. Those two things combined would be a plus for this town.
But here's the issue, and here's the what I didn't say. We could hire an attorney or have an attorney look at these contracts, and we could hire a HR person to administer these contracts, but they have no control over it. We have no control over elected board contracts. You negotiate them, you approve them. We as a board have no say.
But they might have also a helping hand if they're asked to in the hiring process of the person. I conducted interviews and I saw most of them weren't qualified, and I just proved what I said. So there's a lot going on here, I agree. It's unfortunate, like in our industry, our standards downstairs, like I said already, most people don't know what we do for a living, you know, a little bit, you know, get a tax bill and stuff, but, you know, what really goes into it? And there's a lot of stuff that goes on there, so when I'm conducting these interviews with my background, I kind of know that, hey, you're the guy for the job, you know? When he's got a license that takes 7 years to get 5,000 hours, all that, you know, a 4-year degree, which we have, I said, you're the guy here, you know? We don't want to lose him.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve. I just have a couple final comments. I appreciate your support in the idea of an HR staff member.
Yep.
In the interim, before or if that position becomes a reality, I again encourage you to go to David or Tracy if there's any contracts that come up. They're more than happy to assist.
Sure.
I believe you did go to them.
Yes.
Before this one. But they weren't, I don't believe there was comments on the salary portion, just the language portion.
Sure.
And one thing you mentioned was the how much staff we have and how other towns have more staff. And I think that's absolutely true. I think that this town is definitely a lot more lean than other towns. You look at a town like Bridgewater, the town manager, for instance, has a deputy everything. He has a finance director and a treasurer, a planner.
We do work for them. They're
Yes.
well suited over there, believe me.
Yeah.
Mr. Dutton, yeah.
A lot of towns have assistants to everything. So the department head doesn't have as much actual workload, more of just a office oversight, I guess. So I definitely agree with you there, and I think that's definitely something to be commended by the boards that far outdate me, that have kept it that way and kept costs fairly low in comparison to other communities. So thank you for coming in.
Okay, my pleasure. I just want to get that straightened out. When I heard what I heard on the July 11th meeting, and just want to straighten it out. It's tough because when you talk about it, there's interruptions and nobody really gets it. Like I said, they're not supposed to, so. Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Sure.
sir.
Are you taking comments from the floor? You're up.
Is it, if it's pertinent to assessors directly, I will.
It's pertinent to assessors directly. In listening to Mr. McCarthy's comment, oh, sorry, John Dupuy, 3 Town Up. In listening to Mr. McCarthy's comment, one of the things that sticks out to me is transparency. For a long time, the minutes of their meetings were not posted online. They're finally caught up on that.
They're not caught up.
They're not caught up?
No, they're back to June, as far as I checked
Okay.
this morning.
Thank you. So, again, transparency. I mean, minutes are important to keeping the citizens informed. Also, videotape. This meeting is video. I don't understand why that meeting, there have been multiple months of requests to have that meeting taped. And under the OML, the board actually cannot decline the tape, so that's another issue. But I think, you know, his comment of, well, they're not supposed to know, is somewhat offensive. I mean, we are supposed to know. And we can ask the questions, but we have to be engaged. And to his point, that's right. Not many of us do take that engagement upon ourselves. But access is important as well. And that goes to transparency and to communication and the avenues I just spoke of. So that's all.
When I made the statement, they're not supposed to know, I wasn't referring to the over-the-desk, day-to-day operations of a meeting. I'm talking about behind the scenes in a meeting with a downtown attorney on a $45 million building, how to handle the comms, how to handle the dialogue, what to do about discounting stuff, you know, really high-end appraisal work, so these guys go away with nothing, we save the overlay. You know, really like the meats and bones, but not so much open meeting, executive session, roll calls, and stuff like that. I understand what you're saying. I'm talking about what we do for a living when I have, you know, a guy sitting in front of me, and he's looking for $65,000 in tax money.
Why aren't we supposed to know that if we want to ask?
Well, it took me a long time to learn it, and that's why I say I know, you know, it's hard to understand that. These meetings are always with attorneys and such, executive session now. So, you know, if you want to go to school, learn some of that stuff, be my guest.
What kind of a response is that?
Because it's not stuff that, you know.
No, what I mean is it's disrespectful, sir.
I think what Steve was saying is that people wouldn't.
Well, let's not put words in his mouth. Let's let him answer for himself.
Well, I don't want to get into a debate here, but my kind of understanding of what Steve was saying was that people don't actually know what an assessor does. I mean, it's not a very common job. I don't have a full understanding of what John does on a daily basis. I think that's what Steve was trying to say.
That's it, exactly, Anthony. I'm talking about, yeah, just the operational, you know, approach to value, the assessing part of it, mass appraisal, things that, you know, things that we do to kick out a value on a property and then deal with it when they're under appeal.
Perhaps it's time to create a presentation for the citizens. Maybe that would help.
All right, Neil?
Real quickly, can I just ask why you don't televise it? You know, and I really hate going on Facebook, but I turned to a junkie when I ran for office. I hear people say this is the only one board that don't do it. I say it saves a lot of, excuse me, it saves you a lot of time, a lot of grief. It's a public meeting. It's on here. People can see. It's like a legal document. It's all out there in the public. You can sit at home. I don't watch this stuff at home. I very rarely do, but I'm just saying, that's what the people want. That's what they should get. It's their taxpayers. It's their town. If you're hiding something, stop hiding it. Just put it up on TV.
Yeah, a couple of things to that. Tonight we had met with, in a open session, that the board met with Ben Smith from the West Bridgewater, the IT department, regarding taping our meetings. Secondly, this is what, you know, sometimes I get this when that gentleman made a statement that, you know, we're the only board, and I gave Ben a list of, in the town of West Bridgewater, there's 32 boards and commissions. We're going to be, I believe, the 4th one that's being taped. And Ben said tonight he's been after a couple of boards. I said, no, I told him some other boards I sit on, he should think about them because he really deal with taxpayers' money and the taxpayers will be interested. So I talked to Ben about that stuff, and there's actually a couple of boards he's been trying to look to get taped for over 2 years. So what he said, for the only board that's not, there's probably, boards of commission, there's probably 24, 25 others.
But I don't know why you wouldn't want.
So we're talking about your board.
I just say, just put it on.
No, he just said a statement, he said, we're the only board, that's what he said.
It is a factual statement. There are only a couple of the elected
Right.
boards that are registered.
We're working on it right now.
Board of Health.
What's left? Can we
Water
just set a
department.
date for the tapings to start?
I know the assessors did meet with Ben Smith from the
Again,
cable station earlier today. I don't know what the final result was.
there was no final result. They just keep dragging it out and dragging it out. We'll get back to you, we'll get back to you.
Okay,
We'll be talking about it.
okay. John, did you have?
I just wanted to correct the record. It was a statement about the minutes. The board did not meet in July, so there wouldn't be any minutes for July. So they're up to date to June. I think it's one meeting, the August 1st meeting. The minutes have to be.
I stand corrected.
Steve, anything else? Or?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you for coming in.
Okay, appreciate it.
And Mr. Chairman, Mr. Ing is here at this point.
Okay. We have Jacob Ing for Firefighter. Chief, would you like to do an introduction?
Hey, 2 years ago this last May, we had a long-term firefighter injured his back. And after a little over 2 years, we were able to get him out on a disability retirement, just as of last week. Jacob came to us 7 months ago or so. I've gone on call about it and has done extremely well, learning everything we do. He's very familiar with all of our operations. He's in the military reserves. He's basic EMT, just about done with paramedic school. In the next month or two, he'll be testing, and he'll be a great addition to our department. He lives in resident in West Bridgewater currently. And, so Jacob Ing, he's done well and in respect of all of us and my personnel. He's a great team player to add to our team.
Did you want to say anything else or introduce yourself?
He did a great job. My name's Jake. I'm originally from Hawaii. Did some time in the Air Force. Now I live here in West Bridgewater with my fiance. So really excited to start my career here in West Bridgewater with you guys.
Thank you. Glad to have you. David.
Pending is physical and PAT.
Okay.
Coming on, hopefully beginning of September.
All right. David, did you have anything else? Or?
I did not. I met with Mr. Ing. Obviously, he comes with the highest of recommendations from the chief. I found everything to be in order, and I look forward to have him come on board.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board or a motion?
I'll make a motion to we hire him.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
All right. Good luck.
Congratulations and welcome.
We take and turn on the air conditioning. Everyone is melting. We'll have to speak louder, and if anyone has any comments, give them the microphone. I'm gonna lose you all.
Okay. We'll move down to, where is it? Number 2, Fire Department Banquet Pavilion. David or Kenny, did either you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I'll be happy to. We have, it was there when I came here over 30 years ago. We built that barbecue pit, we used to have a chicken barbecue. Don't anymore, but over the years, all of the wood that's holding the metal sheeting roof down has just rotted away, and we tried to re-nail it and it just won't stay back on. If you drive by, you see half the panels that are blown off the roof. My fear is that one of those sheets is going to blow off and, number one, hit somebody or somebody's car. Building inspectors looked at it and it's either repair it, spend a lot of money to repair it, or take it down, which it has no use for it. I know it's dedicated to AZAC family. When we built it, there is a plaque on there that I'm going to remove and have mounted the plaque and present to the AZAC family if it comes down. But I think it's a safety hazard to the town and it should come down.
Thank you, Chief. Any comments or questions from the
No
board?
intention of using it anyhow, right?
No, it's not used anymore.
Okay.
No, it's just grass growing under the...
The only thing I talked to you, about the dedication, and I guess it was dedicated for a purpose. It's
mounted on something and
yeah, right.
Exactly.
All right.
Great. Is there a motion to approve the demolition of that structure?
Motion
Yeah, a motion. I hate to make it, but I make it.
Honestly, Honestly, it's a sad day for me.
Yeah, right.
Been
It's
doing that
sort of a sad day.
for 30 years.
Yeah.
It is a sad thing to see gone.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. We'll return back to order. Approved contracts, COMM cleaning agreement. I believe this is for the town hall cleaning, same contractor, correct?
Yep, it's for the town hall and for the fleet center. So it's an annual renewal, and I'm just asking for the board to ratify the contract.
And that's coming in at same price?
Yeah,
Exact same price?
exact same
And
price.
you're happy with that price?
We are very happy
You're
with
doing a
that
good
price.
job. I'll make a motion, that we honor that contract.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. And the auditing contract for FYs 19 through 21.
Yep, so the auditing contract is a 3-year contract. I was able to negotiate the same price in year 1, years 2 and 3, there would be a $1,000 increase. I wasn't happy with it, so what I did was I surveyed about a dozen other towns. I realized we're doing pretty well in comparison. So with that said, I'm asking you, and the other thing to that is that, in speaking to our town accountant, our treasurer, and our previous treasurer, everybody is extremely happy with the service as well. So with that said, if it's cheaper, and when we know them and they know us, there'd be no reason to not award the contract, so I'm asking the board to take that appropriate vote.
Thank you. Do you know how long they've been doing our audit?
I'm told at least a dozen years, but it might be 15 years.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the contract.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, site plan review for Shell Gas Station, 506 West Center Street.
So the background on this is that the Shell gas station is going to be updating its septic system. As part of updating its septic system, they discovered that their tanks that are in there are all single-walled, and by code they need to be double-walled. So they have 3 single-walled tanks that will be removed and 2 double-walled tanks that will go in its place. I've checked with the building inspector. He sees no issues or problems. The reason it's triggering a site plan review is it's in our Water Resource Protection District, so the planning board will be the permitting and regulatory authority through the process.
Okay.
Great.
They are increasing their gallonage on storage, which I believe the Board of Selectmen is a licensing board. I do have the original license submitted back in, I think, 2009. It was signed by Lawrence at that point. So I don't know. It was also signed by the previous line chief also, so I think it's part of 2 of us. So at some point we'll have to sit down how he wants to request to upgrade his license prior to his installation. I had met with him already about his installation. It's all been approved by the fire marshal's office, along with his suppression systems and all that stuff. His question was about applying to increase his gallonage for storage prior to. My issue is that I spoke to the fire marshal and DEP, and following the rest, and there's no issue on our end. It's just upgrading his license probably to your board.
Okay.
And I will give you a copy of the last license, so you can look at it and see how you want to proceed.
All right, great, thank you, Chief. Okay.
So before you is a site plan review. It's really if you have any comments or concerns that we would process and provide to the planning board.
Okay, does anyone have any comments that they'd like to pass?
I have no comments.
All of the butters were informed and no one responded?
Well, they would respond directly to the planning board.
Okay.
So this is what we do, because we do respond. So we present it to the board, whatever you have for concerns. I then write a letter and then I forward it to the appropriate board at that point.
Okay, but as far as you know, there haven't been any issues with the abutters?
I am told no, and again, I'm relying on what I've been informed from the building inspector.
Okay, is there a motion to pass to the planning board with no concerns?
Motion to pass to the planning board with no concerns.
No second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. State primary warrant for signatures. David, is there anything on this other than we need to sign the warrant?
That is correct. It's just a requirement of the law that you sign the warrant. Our primary election this year will be on September 4th, which is not super convenient because it's a day right after Labor Day, but it is just what the Secretary of State's office chose.
This is just an FYI, correct? There's no vote?
No, I think you just take a vote to sign the warrant, and then you would just execute, sign the
Okay.
warrant.
Is there a motion to sign the warrant?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, next we have video and audio taping in town hall, hallways, boards and committees. Denise, you had requested this to be on the agenda?
I did, and at the last meeting, I mentioned that I did ask for a legal decision, the short answer, and I did not bring David Gay's letter with me.
It's in the packet.
It is in the packet.
Next page.
How many pages?
It's 3, but it's right there. Go
Okay.
backwards, maybe.
Page 29.
Thank you. Okay. So I asked the question about the videotaping, and no, that's, okay, here it is. And he answered the question by saying that I believe there is no expectation of privacy, and thus someone is allowed to video or audio tape what is being said. And then went on to talk about that if it's in a clandestine way, it could be a violation of laws. My issue with it is that even if there is no expectation of privacy, I think, or by the law, the letter of the law, there should be no expectation of privacy. I think someone talking in the hallway think they may be having a private conversation. And if someone is around the corner, video or audio taping them, maybe that's legal, but doesn't make it right, especially if they could be having a very private conversation. Again, sometimes what's legal isn't necessarily ethical, in my opinion. But with that being said, whether or not it's allowed or what the legal decision is, sort of doesn't matter to me. I think it's more important that the residents are cautioned, and there's a simple notice put up on the bulletin board downstairs or in the entranceway, informing them that audio or video recordings could be occurring in certain public meetings and with the chairman's knowledge, and that all other video or audio recording is subject to local, state, federal laws and subject to remedies and penalties as applicable. They choose to do it, that's their decision. Whatever laws there are against it or for it, that's up to the person who's being taped to argue and the person who's doing the taping to defend. Unless we want to move forward and get additional law from David, but in my opinion, it would then turn into something we have to enforce. If we put up what all the law is about, then are we responsible for enforcing it, watching to see if someone's out there videotaping? I don't know. But we have better things to do and things I think we should be more concerned about. So my suggestion was just that simple notice so that residents are aware, and if they intend to have a private conversation, they take it into a conference room.
Chairman,
One second. Yeah, let the board speak first. My only concern with that is that it might encourage it by notifying people, because I think the instance that you mentioned last time was the first instance I've ever known about. I don't think it's ever been a real big problem. So my only concern is that by saying you may or you can video and audio retape, video and audio tape, that people may start doing it more frequently. That's my only concern.
I'm not saying we include that you can, just letting them know that, actually I'm not even saying you can, I'm just suggesting that we explain that it is subject to local, state, and federal laws. Now, if that's in favor of them videotaping, then good for them. But if it's not in favor of them and a resident who is subject to it finds that what they are doing is illegal in whatever shape or form, then it's up to those two parties to handle it.
I feel we should leave it alone. Leave it go. We know out there, anything they do out there with their cameras, it's open. They can do it. I mean, to post, what are we telling them? That there's things out there that are not going on properly. I can't see posting. I think we should leave it alone. We haven't had really any complaints about it, other than when Denise brought the thing in. I don't know why we want to we want a post for something like that. They're welcome. All the cameras they want, they bring them in here, they take pictures in here. So I don't think we should be posting them kind of things, but that's my opinion.
Mr. Dupree?
By posting something of that nature, under the authority and color of the board, it almost seems that you're trying to suppress, by referring to, under the I forget the exact language, under the laws of the state and federal. Look, we're in a very open society at this point. There is video everywhere. Everyone's walking around with a phone that can video record. If you're in a public building, it's up to you to find an area for privacy. By the board trying to take this on and posting something, you get back to that point of, well, are we going to have to police or patrol it or enforce? It's something you don't even want to get into or be a part of. And I think I see where the vote is going, so I'm going to stop.
I actually agree with you.
Honor this day. Certificate.
No, and I appreciate your opinion, John. I was trying to just think of some way to, and I'm not saying stop it, I'm just concerned that people in the hallway talking, and I agree with you, you walk into a public building, should you expect to have a private conversation and not have anyone listening? No, but if you can't see them around the corner, that's my issue.
Still in public.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think the law is clear on this, that it's a public space, there's no expectation of privacy. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I think it hasn't really been a big issue. I think we can always bring it up again if it does become an issue and figure out what we can do, if anything. I mean, I really don't think that there's much that we can do. But other than that, I'm not sure that posting a sign would solve the problem. I think it could create other issues for us. Anything else?
Have a motion.
Either?
Huh?
Anything else?
No.
Did you? Oh.
Have a motion, not to vote.
Oh, well, this is sort of, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. This is sort of part of that, but not necessarily part of that, along with videotaping, and it's been brought up. I would like to see all boards and commissions videotaped.
I am in complete agreement.
And I don't know if there's any, so this is separate from the first issue, but I don't know if there's any recommendations we can make or anything we can do to encourage them to.
I think all three of us have been quite clear that we strongly recommend it. Aside from that, there isn't much else we can do. I mean, we can't force them. I mean, any individual is welcome to go in and videotape any public meeting. I know it's been done with a few, but other than that, there's just nothing we can do to force them to record the meetings.
Can they go in, meaning Ben and his team, and tape a meeting without their authority, or does he need their authority?
Absolutely can, but I think that would be a policy of the cable committee to decide whether or not they want to do that without the blessing of the board. Okay. Anything else on that?
No.
Okay.
Did you want to take a vote?
I don't think we need a vote.
You don't want to vote?
No, I read, I heard what you said.
Yeah, there's no
I knew where it was
action
going.
to vote on.
Okay.
Metro South Chamber support letter, David.
Sure, so this is an annual letter that we do on behalf of Metro South. The chair always signs it because it comes in the middle of summer. Chairman Kinahan signed it, and then all we do is we bring it back before the board as an FYI. There's no vote required. It just allows them to be able to apply for any state grants or any other grants that are available.
Okay. Thank you. Class 2 advisory from Consumer Affairs and Business Regulation.
So, used cars, Class 2, which is what you license, are all required to have lemon law stickers on every single vehicle that is on display in their lot. The Attorney General's office, through their Consumer Affairs Division, will go out and they will routinely inspect and audit dealerships. Quite frankly, we fared pretty well. When you looked at all but one of them had 100% compliance. However, One of them was actually below 50%, which quite frankly is not acceptable. So with that said, this is really an FYI to the board, informing you that you do have one that was not compliant with the law. My recommendation is that we should, on behalf of the licensing authority, we should probably send a letter to them to let them know that we are aware of this issue and that we would take it seriously going forward.
Do you know last year what, if they were 100%?
It would depend on whenever they go out to do their audit. So I've been here for 5 years. This is the first time I've seen West Bridgewater audited from the division.
Oh, okay, it's not an annual?
That is correct.
Are there any other comments? Or
No.
is there a motion to take David's recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have 2 resignations. Billy Cavadas has resigned from the Service Member Recognition Committee. Billy's done great things for this town. He's been a huge advocate of the police and fire department. He, on September 11th, he hands out flags to all the children from the schools. So I'll entertain a motion to accept Billy's letter of resignation and follow it up with a sincere thank you for his service.
So moved. I'd like to say Billy has been doing that for many years. He's been trying to, resign. We talked him into coming back in, but I think he's just tired of it all, and he wants to get out of there right now, And I'll make the motion that we accept his resignation with many, many thanks.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have another resignation from the Agricultural Commission, Marcy Tannenbaum. I believe, did she send in a letter or did she not respond?
No, she sent in a letter as well.
Okay. Okay, is there a motion to accept her resignation with a letter of thanks for her service as well?
I'll accept the letter of recommendation.
With a letter of thanks, I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Anthony, can I
Yes.
just ask a question? We seem to be receiving a lot of letters of resignation. Are these positions being filled?
Tracy could probably answer that.
So they're kind of on a rotating schedule, so I'd say the vast majority of annual renewals, they've accepted and come in and gotten sworn in.
Okay.
They do, we tend to get some this time of year for any that don't wish to be re-upped for the following term.
Okay.
So not completely unusual.
And we post these open positions on the website? Okay.
Roughly how many vacancies do you think we have?
I'd be guessing, I want to say it could be around 15, but I could get you the number.
Thank you. Okay, so next on the agenda, we have appointing the town administrator, the department head, and legal administrator. This is primarily to sign our invoices, essentially. We get and be able to have some control over the Board of Selectmen's budget. Now that it's one budget, we combine the administrator and selectmen into one budget. We get a lot of $20-something invoices that require our signature before the office can buy office supplies, and I think it's just, there's no value in us looking at invoices of that magnitude. So I think it would provide a little bit of efficiency for David, Tracy, and Lorna. Are there any comments or questions on that?
So for clarification, the invoices David would be signing are the invoices we normally receive with a warrant to sign that are then put in the envelope with the warrant for us to sign again. So he would basically be approving them just to go into the envelope for us to sign.
Correct. So for anyone who's interested, so all these invoices come to this folder. We come in, sign them. In here, you'll see tonight I signed a few. They were literally $29 and $32. And then we have to sign it again when they go to those big envelopes over there from the town accountant. So it's just, there's no value in that. So that's, for the majority, all it is. Eldon or David, did you have anything to add?
Oh, I think that's a good idea. Should we have David sign them, because they're really not for big amounts either, you know?
Makes it much more efficient.
Yeah. I'll make a motion that we let David do that.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Employee Appreciation Day, we have moved to September 14th. Has that gone out, the invitation?
It has not yet.
Okay. All right, so we've moved that date to September 14th, and I'm sure those invitations will go out shortly. And that will be at the Senior Center. Malarkey's revocate, do we need a vote? We need a vote to switch that date. We had previously voted for it in August. So if we can just have a vote to change it to September 14th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Malarkey's appealed the decision that we made at the last meeting. Tracy, did you want to, or David, did you want to speak to that at all?
So they appealed, got a picture of the grounds. Their notice didn't include that, but we did get notice from the ABCC that there will be a hearing September 6th, so we're preparing the pre-hearing memo that's required, and we'll just have to see what happens on that day.
If I may just add, and this board has been extremely lenient. You never try to close anyone. They were literally closed for possibly 90 days, if not more. We've had the Board of Health, the Police Department, myself, the Assistant Town Administrator. We've all been there. We all attempted to have access. Every single address that we've sent correspondence to by certified mail, snail mail, and email has never been returned. And then, as Tracy said, is that even when they finally decide to appeal, it was a one-page handwritten letter saying that they were appealing, not providing a basis for the appeal. So
He's been before this board many times, and we talked to him, but
so, you know,
there's no movement at all. So.
Look, they have a legal right to appeal, but unfortunately, it's going to require our time, energy, and resources to spend a day in Boston and advocate on behalf of what was truthfully the right decision to make. Tracy's going to go on this one here, and then Town Council will accompany her. And again, I will say that Tracy did a really good job this week. You know, I signed off on it at the end, but she wrote the joint, the hearing of memorandum. She documented everything. She spent considerable amount of hours on it. Again, I'm not exactly sure how they're going to argue against it, but she did a really nice job preparing the brief.
Thank you, David and Tracy. Discussion on digital storage. Denise,
so this is something I feel very strongly about, and something I think we should be looking into more. It goes back to previously when I discussed we have a practice of saving documents, some of which don't necessarily need to be saved forever. And then when they become tattered and torn, we pay a good sum of money to have them preserved and restored. Another thing we're looking at, and I disagree with, is renovating the attic of Town Hall. I think that it was to the tune of something like $50,000, so that we have a space to store even more paper that we may or may not need. And again, it's clearly not air conditioned, and whether or not the temperature will be consistent up there for this paper, I don't know, but it's just kind of silly. So I did some research, and there are a lot of state and government agencies that have gone digital for many documents, including marriage license, dog license, real estate bills, status of an abatement request, building plans, documents such as these, they have gone digital. It creates efficiencies. One of the things we talked about just short while ago is that as this town grows, we have more tasks. And I think we sometimes look at that as we need more people instead of looking at an alternative. It takes a lot of time to not only create the document, but then to store it and file it, and then to find it when you've misfiled it, and then to retrieve it because you've received some sort of open records request or you need it for something else, including to share it with another department. If another department needs it, then the option is print it, bring it to that department. If we had electronic storage, scanning these documents, indexing them properly so that they can be located, it would create efficiencies in itself. Right now, I think we're spending between $20,000 and $35,000 a year just with 2 departments I know of for this preservation and restoration of records. So the time is really, we need to start doing this. Otherwise, we'll be adding on to the building to store this paper eventually, and we're still going to be spending the same amount of money every year restoring it. I did contact Iron Mountain to see if they have the ability to at least come in and talk to us and discuss these options with us, and found out that we are eligible for the state discount. All municipal entities are entitled to that, and the gentleman I spoke with is more than willing to come down and explain the process for both the scanning and storing of any documents we may need storage for. That is about it. What I would like is the board's support and having David engage in this research and looking into what our options are, what our potential cost savings will be, and maybe even sending a survey to each of the departments just to find out what their documents storage is. We also should have some sort of record retention and destruction schedule, so that if there are documents we're saving, when we do save them, we mark these boxes for the number of years they need to be saved for, and then destroy them.
Okay, yeah, no,
I think
I
it's a good
commend you
idea.
for looking into that.
You have my support on that, and I know that we should look into it and figure, you know, what the cost is gonna be and what we're gonna run into.
Okay, thank you, Denise.
Thank you.
Would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to have David start exploring the options for record retention, record destruction schedules, and learning more about our opportunities to digitally store records.
I'll second your motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
That's long overdue.
Um,
Up and running by now.
We have some proposed bylaws. So first we have storage of trailers.
So this gentleman dropped off a bylaw, and he's, yep, I'm so sorry.
Okay. Oh,
Go right ahead.
go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Olson. Thank you.
One picture on one page.
Okay, yep, thank you.
You can see those pictures kind of speak for themselves. I believe those trailers, whatever they are, came from the Berwick Boys Foundation in the woods or something. And now they're next to my house.
I'll ask you a question as you go on. Are those trailers registered?
The bakery truck is Massachusetts expired registration. The sticker's scraped off. The trailer is recent Maine registration, Maine plate.
I was looking at the property when you brought it to my attention a few weeks back, and I also looked at the other side of the house. There was just a huge hedge out there.
Yeah.
Do you ever talk to your neighbor?
No, before I came here, I went to the police, the fire, building inspector, the assessor, the health department. And they said, it's all within the law, and I looked up the law.
Well, the only thing I was just thinking, if that trailer was moved to the other side of the house with the big hedge there, I mean, that's huge.
Oh, yeah.
On the other side, I mean, you wouldn't even see it at all. But
Well, when I
you don't
talked...
communicate with your neighbor.
Well, when I talked to the policeman, he said, did you talk to your neighbor? And I said, no, I didn't. I said, I didn't want to get into the he said, she said. He did say it, she said it. So I said, I've never talked to him.
I know what you're trying to propose, this bylaw, but there's also people out there that have, you know, business trailers and all kinds of things, and.
Well, let me read something to you from this.
Go ahead, you got the floor.
The new bylaw would exclude farmers, businesses, and tradesmen who daily use their vehicles and trailers for their work and livelihood. So they're out of the picture. My proposal, a variation of it, are bylaws borrowed from other towns. I went to 3 other towns, and they have laws that are somewhat tighter on this type of thing. And I can give you the copy if you want it. What else here? Specifically, the bylaw would protect one unregistered passenger car or pickup truck and not large commercial vehicles and cargo trailers. Any storage would not exceed the front elevation of the residence. That means past the front of the house, which it is now, and would not be grandfathered. The trailers that are existing sitting there now are at a length of 55 to 60 feet and offset from the property line by 24 inches. See the photo. These vehicles have been unoccupied and abandoned or dormant for about 10 months. There has been no use whatsoever. The present bylaw, Article 23, West Bridgewater, states no person shall have no more than one unregistered motor vehicle in the open or any premises or lot or parcel of land in the town. The law was probably written for passenger cars and probably not a commercial step van or cargo trailer, which exceeds 20 to 30 feet in length each, with a height of about 7 or 8 feet. As I said, the new bylaw would exclude farmers, businessmen, whatever they're. You have any questions on that?
Well, the trailer you said is registered, how about the truck?
No, the truck is not registered, no. And the stick is.
Under the bylaw, you're entitled to one unregistered vehicle.
Well, that's what I wanted to change in that to commercial, you know, would exclude commercial, include commercial vehicles. I mean, when you hear one unregistered vehicle, you're thinking of, you know, Toyota Corolla or an Impala or something.
And
things like a UPS truck.
You brought the attention of the police and what
Yeah,
is it?
I looked up the law, and the law says that, one unregistered vehicle, but I wanted to change that to, you know, you can't have a commercial vehicle.
And what is that what you got out of the police? When you talk to the police, what do they say?
They said, we'll get back to you. That was 4 months ago.
So did you say you can't have a commercial vehicle?
Right now
For
you
this-
can.
For this specific thing here, no. But for somebody who works, you know, plumber, electrician, I mean, that's your livelihood, you can have that. But these things have been sitting there for like 10 months.
What about a recreational vehicle, a trailer?
Well, that's in the other thing that the law that I gave you there. I borrowed that from, I think it was Sharon.
I looked at it quickly, but I didn't see where it said anything about a recreational vehicle, recreational
Yeah,
trailer.
they talk about, you know, motorcycle trailers, Sea-Doos and all that type of thing. You can have that. And I believe some of those, you can't go past 10 feet.
I might be, am I missing a page? Because,
Well, it's in the packet, so let's.
The bylaw's 2 pages.
Page 50?
yes.
Yeah, what I gave you first was printed, and this here is in cursive.
Oh, I see, here it is.
Okay.
So, is it the, I'm not in favor of a bylaw that is because we don't like how something looks.
Mhm.
And, you know, if it's not causing you any
Well, let me-
noise or dirt or dust or hindering your ability to use your property, and the impression I'm getting, and I could be wrong, is that you don't like how it looks.
Well, that's the way I went to these other towns, because evidently they had run into this years ago, and they wrote it in. And Article 23, I think it is, for West Bridgewater, has been there and been there and been there, and there's no changes. But what you just said is true. I'm here about an eyesore next to my property line, and I think by definition an eyesore is something offensive to view. And I've had nothing to do with you. I've had a couple of complaints from people that are 3 or 4 houses down, and they say, what's going on there? And I said, I don't know. I went to the health guy, and I said, you know what's in the trailer? And he says, no. I said, well, neither do I. like I said, I'm retired, I've been there 10 months, they've been there, nobody's gone in and out. You just, yeah.
But to go through, bylaws always have unintended consequences. We've seen it happen. We write these bylaws, and then someone whom you didn't expect to be affected by it is affected by it.
Well,
and I'm just thinking, it would be so much easier if you could ask your neighbor if they'd be willing to move them.
Since they've been there 10 months, they came from the other side of town that were there for I don't know how many years. And they're going to be there. So when you read the bylaw for West Bridgewater, it says unregistered vehicle. And usually you think of an automobile or something, not a Titanic. I mean, this is pushing the law, I think. That's why you say, well, there's no law against it. There isn't. But that should be changed. I'm sure a lot of people, you know, I don't live in the Taj Mahal, just a regular little house, but if you saw these 60 feet of vehicles next to your line, you'd say, what's this going on? So, I mean, you know, what can I tell you? That's what I wrote down there. And I just want to change a couple words in the bylaw.
Okay. Well, even if we were to bring this to town meeting, it wouldn't be until June when we have our annual town meeting.
Yeah. They'll be there in June.
To be honest, I think that, knowing the culture of this town, I think that most people would have a really hard time restricting what they can have on their property. I mean, you drive other places in town, and there's areas where there's tons of cars.
Well, I could go the other angle, too. I was going to go down and Fall River to the tax office, because I don't particularly like taxes myself, but obviously the vehicle's there to avoid some type of tax, I would imagine, to be registered in Maine, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'd suggest talking to the neighbor. We can take a look at this again when the town meeting warrant comes up, when do we start looking at those, David?
Yeah, it's probably somewhere in January to February time period.
And at present, we don't have a bylaw study committee anyhow. Right.
Okay, so in January, probably, we'll ask that we haven't yet determined the process. Without the bylaw study committee, it may be reestablished. So if it is, then it would be presented to them and then to the board again.
Like I was saying, I'm not trying to take away anybody's livelihood. I know there's electricians and all these other guys. It's something that's just planted there and left. It's like, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Dupree?
I haven't been able to read, sorry, Johnny Fricatano. I haven't been able to read it in its entirety. What impact would this have on, say, my 35-foot Airstream that I leave sitting in my driveway and I don't go camping for 2 years?
Yeah, well, that's part of the thing I put in there. You can't be past the front elevation of your house. If it's past the front elevation of your house, cars go by, they can't see what might be coming out of the driveway.
My house is set pretty far back.
Yeah.
So is my driveway. So it's in front of my house, but I still have a lot of driveway.
Yeah, how long is your trailer?
I'm giving you a hypothetical. 35 feet, let's just say, I mean, there are plenty of...
Yeah.
It's a standard fifth wheel.
There are plenty of situations where you're now excluding vehicles that I don't think you intend to.
Well, you didn't, did you read the?
I couldn't.
There's a lot
I didn't have it.
of exclusions.
Yeah, and I think as I read, that wasn't one of them.
Yeah.
Recreational vehicles, so.
Yeah, it had motorcycle trailers, you can have all that stuff.
Well, motorcycle trailer is one thing, but a 35-foot Airstream, I mean, that's a much larger animal, and I didn't see, you know, recreational vehicles.
I mean, it's obviously what you're saying, your house is set back, but I'm pretty sure your neighbors wouldn't like it. But, you know.
Yeah, but it's not illegal. I did tempest in a teapot. I'm going to voice my opinion now.
Well, the thing with me is they came, I believe, from the woods, some down near the Berwick Boys Foundation, which there was no complaints because it's out in the woods somewhere. And then all of a sudden they're in a residential area. So.
Okay.
That's why I made the bylaw, buddy. Keep it up.
All right. We appreciate you coming in.
Yeah. Could I have my pictures back?
Absolutely.
You can have my pictures ready.
Discussion on the Are we gonna have a discussion about bylaw study?
Yeah, that's coming up.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Okay, we have another bylaw, proposed bylaw, wind turbine bylaw. This was received in what, 2016, David?
That is correct.
It was never, there was never action taken on it. I don't know if is there intention to rewrite it so that it is pertinent to this town?
Yeah, so, do you want to speak to it?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. So Steve Hobbs has talked to me several times about this bylaw that he wrote, and he also had a number of signatures with it, I think somewhere around 180 or so, and it wasn't necessarily submitted perfectly, and it sort of died. It didn't go anywhere, and we got into the discussion of bylaws and the fact that we no longer have a bylaw study committee. So the thought process was, first of all, we should resurrect the bylaw study committee, because we need individuals willing to look at these bylaws, whether they create, look at the old bylaw or the bylaws we have in the books now to make sure they're still written properly and we're in compliance. Secondly, to look at any new bylaws we may need so that we're proactive instead of reactive, and be prepared to look at bylaws submitted by residents and get them into good form to present to us, and then to town council to review to make sure that we've covered all the legalities of them, and to prioritize them, because I'm not really sure I'm in a position to say what's most important to the town or not. Now, a windmill bylaw may not sound very important, but if we went back 30 years ago, we probably wouldn't have been talking about solar panels either. And then they became very popular, and I'm not convinced we were 100% prepared for them. So, why not look at a wind turbine bylaw if that is possible to come into town? And that's where we are. So I think it's important to look at starting a bylaw study committee again.
Okay.
I think where that got backtracked, most of it was over at the water department over there, and then they says that area was not feasible, and so everything was backed off. And, and moving forward on that, I think that's what happened over there. That was one area, I guess they really thought that maybe they could do something with, and then it was never. But I'm with you. We get the bylaw committee and bring that up, and of course, something like this can automatically be put on the warrant if you get so many petitions, people, and still maybe that should have gone on the warrant.
Yeah, I don't believe he had enough signatures, and it would actually.
I don't know if he had enough
200,
signatures,
and
but
then
if we do
we'd
have
have
enough
to host
signatures,
a special
you
meeting.
mentioned quite an awful lot of signatures there. And that, to me, probably should have gone on the warrant.
It couldn't have gone on the warrant like that. It made absolutely no sense.
What I've not to interrupt you, but what I did ask Steve to do was to send us, or send Tracy or David, the Word document, because it is outdated at this point. I don't know, I didn't read it, so I don't know what particular lines need to be amended or changed, but I did explain that in PDF form, even if you have the full version of Adobe, to try to convert it to a Word document is not going to be easy. It could come out, misaligned and words changed and all of that. So he was going to work on finding the Word document.
Yeah, well, that's his responsibility to write it. Anyone who proposes a bylaw, they have to write it. I mean, it's not, we don't spend our resources on writing bylaws for people. They have to propose them like the previous gentleman did. But in regards to the study committee, so I believe previously, David, you would probably know, the bylaw study committee had the ability to reject bylaws that residents proposed.
Not to my knowledge. I mean, what they should be doing is they really had two missions. One mission is that when a bylaw is proposed, is to review it and make a recommendation back to the board. I'm not so sure that that was always done, because a lot of times they would just either vote on it yes or no, and I think some people got misunderstood that if that bylaw study committee didn't approve it, that it was kind of dead in the water, if you will. So I think that that's where it came out of as a result of that. The second thing that I think that is very important is that we already have 55 bylaws in the book, in addition to a book this thick of zoning. And the second part of the Bylaw Study Commission is that they're supposed to actively study all of our bylaws on an annual basis. So if things need to be amended or changed, they can make that recommendation. That just didn't occur. And so I think that if we are going to rename this Bylaw Study Committee, which I do think is wise and we should do, I think two things. One is that we have to create a formal mission statement for it so they know what they're adhering to. And in my opinion anyway, I know I've not discussed this and maybe nobody is going to be in favor of it, but I think that certain positions should have automatic appointments to it. So for example, the chair of the planning board should probably be on it because he has a lot of experience on it. And then we would have a couple of ad hoc seats as well, so that way residents that do not already have a formal seating, they want to be on it, they could do it as well. But we need to make sure there's some experience on that board and some expertise.
Okay. David, are you willing to draft mission statement and who should be the ex officio members of the board?
Sure, I can provide that to the board.
We can take a vote on that next week to reestablish, and then from there we'll go with accepting applications for appointment. Okay. Public comment period.
Yeah, but just we just hired 2 new people. What are their salaries and what are the benefits? This lady over here, thank you for your service to the country. Now, we're in a real war here.
So Neil, what I'll do is I'll get you the exact hourly rates because I don't have them, but they are both union employees. So they are both going to be plugged right into whatever the matrix is. They will have all the collective bargaining benefits as well, but I don't really know what step they were brought in, so I can get you that information.
I mean, benefits, what's the benefit package?
Sure, I mean, it's vacation time, sick time, personal days, you know, it's all the same benefits that all the collective bargaining agreements.
50,000, 20,000?
Yep, so off the top, it's going to be somewhere in the range of $22 to $26 an hour between the two positions.
That's hourly, so.
All right, so $35,000 to $45,000 is the salary range.
Another thing, I just want to make a comment. When I go to town meeting, I ask a question, like against Dave Gagnon, nothing personal. The question is 5% of the salary of his total package. When I come to this town, Aldo will know too, you had a book, had every employee in there, what they made, what the salary was, what the benefits are. So when you say we're giving him 5% raise, is that on his total package or just his hourly wage, his gross wages?
His total package being...
Well, it's benefits, it's a pension, it's a health insurance.
Well, his pension is based off his salary.
Well, I have no idea because we don't know that. It's not public information. It's not in the books anymore. You talk about transparency. And that's things that
I would say that's pretty common knowledge, the way that a pension works.
Don't go there with me. I know what pensions are. You probably don't, but
I'm in a pension program, actually.
What pension?
The Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
You funded? What's your funding?
9 plus 2, 2% for everything over 30 grand.
In the red zone, green zone, or yellow zone?
I'm group 4.
All right, but continue.
Specifically David's salary is clearly in the budget. He's a separate line. Some aren't. I mean, there's the DPW staff, the police officer line. I mean, they're all grouped together. In my time, I've never seen a listing of every single salary.
How old are you? I'm 60. How old are you?
28.
All right, you got a long way to go.
I mean, that can be requested any time from on a FOIA request. It has been, I believe it is every year by the same individual, probably the newspaper. I mean, it's all public information. You can ask it any time.
All right, I get that. Now, one other thing, we had lawsuits pending. Did we settle Rick Kruger's lawsuit?
It is coming up on the agenda.
It'll be coming up on
very
the agenda.
shortly.
Go ahead, Charlie.
I thought this
Yes.
was maybe the public.
Report by the
All right, I can wait.
administrator.
Could I just mention something, Neil, about the question of the salaries? All of that is part of the FinCom book. When they're going over the budgets, all the employees' salaries are listed, what they were making, what they will make. So I just wanted to let you know that that is included in there.
When you say he gets a 5% increase, I'm not saying Dave in particular, just anybody.
Okay.
Your gross wage is what you make for a year. My salary is $100,000. I get 5% of that, but I make $100,000 plus my benefits bring me up to $125,000. Do I get 5% of $125,000? That's the question.
Okay, so you're asking if they take the total compensation of wages plus benefits, and then...
Yes.
We do not do that. It's only
Okay.
based on the salary.
Okay. Anything else from the public?
I wasn't sure if we completely finished under public hearing section F, the videotaping and audio taping. I know we addressed your questions to the attorney, but it looks like there are some additional pages in the packet with a letter from the assessor or the chairman of the Board of Assessors that I don't know if the board wants to address or not. It seems like there's some misunderstandings about what occurred and what was said and what was not said.
Would you like me to address that?
Oh, okay, this is from Cheryl. Yes. Yeah, sure. It is.
What
It's
page
very-
is
It's
that?
on page 31 of your
31.
packet.
Thank you.
Before you begin, I'm just going to out myself. I am the allegedly
Disabled.
hard of hearing person.
Oh.
I am actually hard of hearing.
Okay. Well, when I wrote this letter, I wasn't, when I wrote the letter for the legal decision, I wasn't necessarily pointing the finger at anyone in particular who was disabled. It was just a concern to me of what occurred. So the first issue was addressing the ADA issue. The second issue was the videotaping, because I didn't react right away. I didn't react at that meeting. I didn't react the next day. I thought about the ADA issues, contacted Boston, contacted our ADA committee. And then as far as the recording issue, I also thought about that, and not only how it could have affected those residents in the hallway, but residents in the future. So I wrote the letter, sent an email to David, which he then, I don't know if he rephrased it and sent it to Attorney Gay, but sent it to Attorney Gay. In that particular letter, I did say what was told to me in that hallway, that there was, they expected this person was videotaping the discussions that were occurring in the hallway. What I did not allude to at our last meeting when I brought it up was that it was a board member's family member doing it. I included it in the letter to David to send to Mr. Gay, but I did not state it in the meeting. The letter in here was written to Anthony by a Board of Assessors member, Cheryl Smith, and within it, it accuses me of cherry-picking opinions to stir up controversy around the Board of Assessors. It further states that I conjured the story about what occurred in that meeting. I don't believe I conjured anything. As a matter of fact, I went back and listened to the recording a few times before I made any statements to make sure what I was stating was accurate. I mean, the letter is posted, but, you know, I take offense to some of the accusations in here.
Many of us do.
Thank you. That I'm wasting the taxpayers' money for additional legal opinions to satisfy my frivolous desire to continue bickering with the Board of Assessors under the pretense of her fabrications, meaning me. Town Council has already ruled on such recordings as permissible, and that should be the end of it. To which I will respond, I emphatically stated for the legal decision, I must have said it 3 times, David, that I wanted the short answer, which meant we were not, as a town, going to get a full legal opinion. And I went in knowing that. Because I did not want to spend a lot of money on this, because quite frankly, I'd already spoken with other attorneys. And they explained what they thought their position was and told me the same thing, that they would have to research case law, and that was going to get expensive. So I figure we'll get a quick response from town council, matter of record, and go from there. It was never my intent to waste taxpayers' money, nor was it my intent to bicker with the Board of Assessors. But when a resident expresses a concern to me, and I'm going to say that I think has merit. I know that's subjective. Every resident's expression of concern should be a concern to me, but there are some things I can help with, some things I can't, and some things I shouldn't get involved with. This, I thought I should at least seek a decision on. The ADA issue was very concerning to me. The taping was very concerning, and I get it. The law says they can do it. That's fine. It is what it is. Do I think it's right? No. Will I ever think it's right? No, I won't. But if that's the law, then that's it. And like I said, the letter said that should be the end of it. So I take offense to that, of someone ordering me as to what I will do. I will not ever stop trying to do the best job I can possibly do for this town. That's what I'm here to do. That's what I said I would do, and I will continue to do it. And if it offends anyone, I'm sorry. There will be people who will continue to be offended.
I think my takeaways here are, first of all, Selectwoman Reyes' depiction of events as she wrote them in a letter and as she reviewed them from the video are absolutely correct. They're confirmable by videotape, and they're confirmable by at least 4 people who are sitting here today, who were there at that meeting. And this is just another example of this individual who chairs the board, who I understand is an elected official and it does not come under the purview of the Board of Selectmen, and his attitude. And it's actually the 3rd or 4th example of his attitude that we've seen here tonight. And I don't know what the board or the town can do about it, but those meetings are really, really difficult for me to watch and remain calm. I get the impression that they do a token 15 minutes open session and then take everything else into executive sessions so that they don't have to put up with us. And then they just kick us out of the room. And he may be the greatest assessor in the whole world, and I don't have any complaints about the assessment on my property, but he also has a responsibility for running that meeting according to open meeting rules as a public servant. And these are not the actions of a well-meaning public servant.
Okay. Thank you both. I mean, I don't believe I was there for this meeting. I wasn't a witness to what happened. But I mean, as you know, as you said, it's not under our purview. I mean, I don't know what they have in executive session, what they don't, what they should have in open. I mean, I don't know.
There's no way to find out, right?
Well, from the agendas and then from the executive session minutes after.
Agenda. I don't know what the open meeting rule says about that. And they typically, and they did it again today, accidentally leave things off the agenda when they don't want to deal with them. They did so tonight. It was a mistake, and they didn't feel it was appropriate to discuss it since it wasn't on the agenda that they never posted, that they didn't distribute, that we didn't have any access to in the first place. I mean, this is just not right.
Yeah, I mean, we've said it a number of times, we've said it a couple of times tonight, we encourage them to be videotaped, but there's nothing we can do to force them. I mean, anyone has a right to look at the open meeting laws. We have an expert back here.
What's your law degree, Jeff?
He's free too.
Yeah, yeah. But other than that, there's not much that this board can do.
Okay. I attended one meeting, and basically what you said there is, it seems to be all in executive sessions. So I never went back because there was nothing there that was being discussed.
You couldn't go back.
Right.
You couldn't.
No.
Again, just to comment on the executive session, if you really believe that they're discussing matters in executive session that aren't listed as items on the executive session agenda, that's an OML violation, and that's one that the AG takes very seriously. That if they're abusing and misusing the executive session exemptions, which there are only 10 of them, and they're very strict in their application. I mean, that's an OML that you can write. As soon as they release an executive session minute, which is often very delayed, you can review it and then compare it to the agenda and then file an OML based on that, if they actually reported the minutes properly. I'm not saying anything that they are doing is incorrect, but you know that's an example of how you could address or get someone with authority to address the executive session violations under the OML.
Thank you. Go ahead.
John DePuy, 3 Catano again. I wanted to bring up something that came up at last night's ZBA hearing for Old Bridgewater. Yesterday, the focus was on traffic, and they had the engineer from the applicant, and they had, which appeared to be the engineer that the town had hired, which basically parroted what the applicant's engineer was saying. But an issue arose where Chairman Lucini was stating that he's not getting the input back from town departments that he needs. Here we were discussing traffic and safety. Police department was not there. Fire department was not there. DPW was not there. And he's stating on the record yesterday, he went on quite a rant on how he's not getting the support and the information back from the department on this particular 40B application. And he said, I can only go with information that I get. He said, I reach out to them, we contact them, they have the information, and they just not have provided it. And I believe that these are all departments that report to you. Is that correct, Department of
Most likely
Fire,
all of them,
DPW?
not water.
Yeah,
I don't know
all
if they
of
were
them.
involved, but police, fire, DPW, absolutely.
So what I'd like to suggest and what I'd like to see happen is a strong emphasis. And I was in here previously discussing the 40B process and how it needed to be stronger for involvement to begin with. But here you have departments reporting to you that are not participating in a very significant project that could impact the infrastructure of this town in a very deleterious way. So I think something needs to be done.
Okay.
And I leave it to the board.
Well, I was there, and I was discussing it, to tell you the truth. The gentleman that's supposed to be representing the town, I think he was working for the opposition. I mean, the only thing that we got out of here is a traffic count. We can put a line there, the Old Colony Planning Council, they do it for nothing for us. And you know, the traffic's increasing there. We're not doing anything with the intersection. And of course, you know, I was told literally I was the only selectman there. And then finally somebody got up and they says, hey, he's only one selectman. Go to the other two, okay? So here's the letter clearly that we sent to them. And somewhere along they misplaced it there. They didn't have it. I have it, and it's written out. This gentleman, I just showed it to him before the meeting. It's written out. Now, I contacted both chiefs today. And they had no information at all. I think when you have a 40B, they all should have a plan, so they know what they're talking, so they can recommend based on a plan that they have in front of them, and neither of them have a plan. I mean the communication here is not good, and then the Board of Appeal is going to make this decision. The only thing I'm afraid of there, and he knows, that's a very critical area, and it's going to fall back on the town. The developer says, no, we've got nothing to do with out in the street. What are you talking about? You don't have nothing to do. I said, we're developing 106 lights down there. We're back a mile. The approaches, very, very important. When we dealt with the big stores up there on 106, I mean, they widen the road and everything else. It's all up to us. I mean, if we just sit there like we're dopes and not say nothing, but to be accused. And even a letter was sent, and David, I told him what I wanted to see in this, because, you know, Denise is busy and so is that, so I'm around during the day, and we got a letter out to them, but they didn't even take this in consideration, you know? So I have a copy here, but somewhere along the line, you know, I was just told that, just remember, they work for us, we don't work for them.
Okay. David, do you mind reaching out to the zoning chair, making sure that he is notifying the chiefs and the DPW director, and then following up?
I know that. I know.
And follow up with those department heads to make sure they are getting the information.
I will.
Thank you. Is there anything else from the public?
But just to put on the record, the next date for the continuation of the hearing for Old Bridgewater is September 18th at 7 o'clock.
Thank you.
And the primary focus is allegedly conservation and wetland.
Thank you.
And I would like to say another thing as a result. I don't mind going to meetings, okay? Last night when we got out of that meeting, when they shut the lights off, there's no lights out in the yard at all. I mean, literally black. You couldn't even see the curb out there.
Howard Street School.
I got a call into the school superintendent. She'll probably get back to me tomorrow. I don't know when they shut that light off, if that means the light in the yard goes out. And you know how people hang around after the meeting and converse with each other. There were still people in there. But when they turned the lights, there was no lights at all out in the yard. In fact, I had a guy, I said, Jesus, you know, you got a good idea. He carries a flashlight with him all the time, you know, many flashlights. I mean, there should be a light out there all the time anyhow for safety with the Howard School. You know, I'm going to be discussing that with Patty Oakley. Yeah, I mean, where's the lights? And if the custodian turned those lights off, if they're all on one switch, I don't know. You know, that's something that I got to look into, you know?
Or at least a sensor light to detect movement, so it is lit out there.
Oh, you wouldn't see nothing.
Out there.
Zero, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And neighbors will love that.
Every critter that runs through.
Yeah, so.
Town Administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So really, the first part is really an FYI to the board. You'll recall that a handful of years ago, it took us 18 months to go through the process, but we received town meeting approval to aggregate energy on behalf of residents who chose to opt into the program, or not to opt out of the program. And we had a report from NextEra which showed that the people who chose to take part in the program or remain in the program collectively saved about $84,000 last year. That was a one-year contract, and the rate at that point was a tad over 11 cents. The new pricing from NextEra this time is a little over 12.5 cents. It's really not that advantageous. So because we were only on a one-year contract, I have every anticipation of going back out to bid. In the past, I worked with the previous chair. I'll ask to work with the chair on this as well, because what we'll do is we'll have a conference call. We'll go out to bid at the end of August. If the pricing is low, then we need to sign on the same day because of the way that they bid energy. If the pricing is not low, then we would wait until the end of September and rebid it again. But as you did last year, and I can issue the RFP as Chief Procurement Officer, but because it has to be signed on the same day, you have to take a vote of the board as to either one, allow the chair that day to sign it, or allow myself to sign it. Last year you had me sign it because obviously I'm in the office, but somebody has to be able to execute that contract in real time.
Okay. Is there a motion to allow David to sign for that?
So moved.
I'd like to have a discussion about this. And the reason is for that, when this came up last year, I took offense to having to opt out of something that I never asked for. So it took time from my day to opt out. And based on my electricity usage, I use more electricity in the summer versus the winter. So the next Terra rate was to no benefit of me. And this takes David and his staff time to do this, and it's all done with good intent. I have no doubt it's not done with good intent. But I'm just wondering, should we have him out there spending his time on this again? Is it really beneficial to the town? I know there was $80,000 saved, but I think that was projected based on the number of electricity users that would participate. And there was, although it doesn't sound like a high number, I think, David, you said 10%? 10% ended up opting out. With that information, I don't know how attractive we will be to offer a discounted rate. So I'm just putting that out there. One of the things I suggested, and I don't even know if this was a good suggestion. It came out of my mouth without me thinking it thoroughly through, and now it's going to come out on video too, was maybe doing a poll on the town's website to to see if this is something the residents want us spending our time on.
Yeah, well, we did that at town meeting.
Okay.
When it was accepted last year. It was passed by the town at town meeting. I do agree that it would be nice if it was opt-in instead of opt-out, but we just don't have that option. We do have the option of, if we don't like the pricing, to not enter into the agreement. Right, David? And then it would just fall back to the standard electric company rate.
Yeah, so I did a little bit of homework on that, and there's a couple of other hurdles that we have to go through, but yes, we would eventually fall back to the national grid.
Would we have to repeal the?
Nope, you don't have to go back to town meeting, but I would have to refile a petition with the Department of Public Utilities, and then they would unwind our aggregation ability going forward. They would, again, doesn't require a town meeting vote, but then that way everybody would just go back to national grid.
I mean, if town meeting already voted on it and that's what the town wants, I don't want to go against anything the town already voted on, but maybe it should be something we bring up again at the next town meeting and get the temperature of the residents then, since they've experienced it. And if they vote against it, then so be it.
Yeah.
At least he's not spinning his wheels going through this effort.
Okay, I would suggest that we enter into another agreement, or at least get the pricing.
Correct.
Allow David to sign it if it's believed that the pricing is advantageous. We make sure to send out ample communication when the time comes that those opt-out letters will be sent. I don't know when that is, but we can do things on the website, Facebook. We can do a quick video just explaining what it is, how to opt out, in what cases you may or may not want to opt out, and then go from there.
Yeah, again, I'm fine. I mean, look, as Selectman Ray said, when we did this, we received a lot of phone calls, and it did leave me scratching my head about why I'm doing it, because we didn't benefit from it. It doesn't save the taxpayer a penny from a tax standpoint. But the reason I got into this field and out of the private sector was because I wanted to help people. And this was an opportunity that we thought that we were going to be able to help people, and it didn't cost us anything. It did require a lot of time. And if we eventually unwind from this and people want to pay whatever the going rate is, I'm fine with that. But obviously, this is a decision that has to be made at this point, and I think pricing will probably lead us down that road once we go to RFP.
Thank you. So is there a motion?
I'll make a motion for David to
Be authorized to.
I'm sorry. David, help me with.
Authorized to be the signatory.
Authorized to be the signatory for the pricing for the aggregation.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so an update on litigation matters. At our last meeting, we had a handful of items that went to executive session, which have now been all cleared up. So the first one was in reference to former Lieutenant Ray Rogers. That one has been settled. It didn't cost the town anything. The issue hindered on the fact that when he left employment was that he was not supposed to have anything still in his possession of town property. It came to our attention that he had documents, and he has since returned the documents, so there's no litigation from the town to him or from him to the town. In reference to Richard Kruger, is that we ended up settling with him for $15,000. That was an agreement that obviously we discussed with the board, and so Mr. Kruger has agreed to that number, the town has agreed to that number, and so that is the settlement amount for Mr. Kruger.
Is that the total amount, or is that in addition to the prior court?
No, that was that's gonna be, that judgment will be vacated.
Okay.
And so this is a new judgment in the amount of $15,000.
Can we speak on that?
Go ahead now.
It was $8,000, we're up to $15,000. What was illegal? What did our town lawyer charge us?
Yep, so we spent over 4.5 years, $34,423.
For $8,000, he had a collective bargaining agreement that was written there, he owed him $8,000. That brought to over $50,000. You gotta be kidding me. It was in the CBA, I heard the whole case from the start to the finish. This is the finish here. We lost on this. And this goes back before you went to town meetings, when we had a police officer and someone else at the meeting, same argument, and the town voted to give it to him. Another guy, the mechanic who left a few years ago, same argument, went for the voters, we gave it to him. This guy comes up, we fight him. We didn't fight him, you guys fought him. Why? I don't get it. You didn't prove anything. You said you had a case in the state Supreme Court. It's the same one I read. Somebody got fired, and he said the sick time should have been allocated to it. And the judge said no. But this is bull.
Just one
This is
comment
what-
on that.
no, this is what drives
I'd like to
me
comment
crazy.
on it. I've been against that, I just pay them, it's in the contract, it's in
You're
writing.
100% right. Don't sign a contract if you don't want to live up to it.
We did not initiate that litigation. The water
Who did?
department did.
Yes, you
Our
did.
only decision was to make the appeal a few months ago when there was the 50-something thousand judgment, and then it was reduced to 15. That's the only vote, I believe, that this board has taken.
Respect to the chair. All I'm going to say is, the other two cases went to the taxpayers at town meeting. We made the decision. This one you said, we'll do it ourselves. You appealed it. Who gave you the right to appeal it? Where did the money come from? And where do you have the right to do these decisions without us? I understand you have to make decisions,
Yeah,
but this was a collective bargaining
When we
agreement.
appealed it, we reduced it from 50 to
It don't make a
15.
difference. No, you added to it. It was 8,000 and it's out.
Oh, no, that wasn't us.
Who's
The
us?
water department initiated the litigation.
They initiated the litigation?
Yes.
So what's that mean? They brought this forward? They
They
didn't want to
brought
pay
it
them?
forward. We then made the decision to appeal.
What did
They
you
voted
appeal?
not to appeal.
What did you appeal?
We voted the judgment of 50 grand.
So you appealed that.
We appealed that after the water department voted not to appeal.
So I might be wrong here. So the water department didn't want to pay him the $8,000. Is that correct?
The water department initiated the litigation. They did not want to pay him the $8,000. It then, a few months ago, there was a judgment for 50-something. The water department sat in front of us. They voted no, not to appeal. They wanted to pay the 50. The Board of Selectmen voted to appeal. It was reduced from 50 to 15.
Who's in charge? All right, I don't want, it's getting late here. Who's in charge of the CBA's paying? The water department paying the water department?
He's not in a CBA. It wasn't a CBA.
He had a contract saying he'd get paid $8,000.
He had a
He
contract,
had a
but
contract,
not
yes.
collective bargaining.
Well, he had
agreement.
a contract with a CBA,
Yep.
whatever. He had a contract. So the water department said, no, we're not paying you the $8,000, we'll bring it to court.
Correct. They initiated the
Well,
litigation.
And they sat to court, and they went to court with it? That ain't what I heard. I just saying.
David, am I correct with that? I mean, I wasn't on the board at the time. That is my understanding.
To be clear, the water department had a contract with Mr. Kruger. There was an $8,000 difference in payment. They-
On what? With the sick time, correct?
That is correct. They paid Mr. Kruger $46,000 at the end of his term. He said that he was owed $54,000. That $8,000 discrepancy, the water department, in addition to myself, John Duggan, Ann McNaughton, and legal counsel, all reviewed it, and we all agreed that the water department was right. They did not pay him. Rick Kruger decided to file a lawsuit against the town. The water department decided to defend themselves. They spent $19,556 defending their case. After the judgment was rendered, the selectmen said, we didn't spend $20,000 of ratepayer money just to walk away when we believe that we have a winnable case. And so the difference was spent by the Board of Selectmen. They were vindicated because the Supreme Judicial Court this summer ruled in an exact same case that ruled in our favor. That is why Mr. Kruger decided not to take 50 grand on appeal and to reduce his own judgment to 15 without fighting it, because his lawyer read that case and he was aware that we were right. Now, the problem is, under appeal, we would have spent another $30,000, probably would have won, because the highest court in the state ruled in our favor, but we would have spent 30 grand more. And so the selectmen made a decision to get out of it at 15,000.
On that note there, he's not here to say the whole case.
I agree.
And our town lawyer's not here. $8,000, it would have ended it. The water department, why they aren't audited, why there's no audit done at that water department, it's beyond me.
They're a separate entity, aren't
Yeah,
they?
well, time
But
out.
they are audited.
They're recognized through the chair. And then when they do that, and they have a right to spend our taxpayer dollar, and then we have to litigate it, now where's the money come from? Free cash? Where's the money come to pay our lawyer and pay him?
The water department has a legal budget within their budget. They have about a $2 million budget, and they spend for legal fees as they see fit. And that's what they did. They spent it out of their budget. It's a legal appropriation.
That's a kangaroo court down there. They spend money that people don't even know about. It's a disgrace, and this is taxpayers' money. I'm not blaming you, Dave, or anybody here, but something has to shape up in this town.
My water tastes great.
Well, drink your water, don't drown in it, just drink it.
One final comment on that. I misspoke when I said the water department initiated litigation. Kruger initiated litigation. They voted to defend and go forward instead of paying it.
Correct. But at this point, it is settled. In the last litigation matter is in reference to Peterson Puritan. Again, I've said this numerous times. It's just maybe the most frustrating thing that I've seen in the years that I've been here. But at the end of the day, they're looking for $42,000, or they're going to sue us for $6.5 million in federal court. It's going to cost us more than $42,000 to file the paperwork. So the Board of Selectmen agreed that we would agree to the settlement of $42,000. So we've issued a joint statement with District Court seeking a court judgment for $42,000, and therefore they will drop all charges going forward. So that should be settled as well.
That's for the dump or something like that. Now, are we 100% protected if we agree to this $42,000? I mean, the lawyers looked at it, there's nothing that can back and bite us in the backside.
Yes, that's the way the paperwork has been drawn up, yes.
It's filed with the court. Pretty solid.
Yeah, so.
Questions on other litigation? I know there are some other pending matters, and if you're unable to discuss them at this time, I understand. Teamsters Local versus the library?
Yep, so.
Any update?
Not yet. I can tell you, it should be at the next meeting.
Right.
We would hope to have it here tonight, but it didn't happen.
Okay. Smith v. the Town of West Bridgewater?
Yep, still ongoing.
Any developments?
None.
It has been remanded back to state court.
Yeah, correct. But I'm just saying that at this point, there's.
Yeah, they dropped the federal charge.
Correct.
Or the court dismissed it, sorry.
They dismissed one count, yes.
One count, which I won't get into jurisdiction. Anyway, Supreme Court, did they grant the FSA on the open meeting law and talking about competency and executive session versus open?
So I have a verbal, but I have not seen anything in writing yet.
And the verbal is?
The verbal is that they have not taken the case. But
So
I've
that
not.
pretty much ended.
If that's the case, yes. But that's what I've had. We know somebody at the court that has verbalized that to us. As you know, it takes 3 judges to take the case at the Supreme Judicial Court. We have been told that they have held their meeting and that it was not moved forward, but we have not received anything in writing yet.
Okay. Well, David could check the docket if you wanted him to. I mean, it's all online, so. All right.
David?
Sure. So East Street, East Center Street, I'm just an update to the board that that project is in process. People see that they're doing work down there. They're going to move pretty quick. They will be done almost all of the work by the end of September. The only thing they will not be able to do is put in the new lights because that takes about a 6-month lead time. They couldn't order the lights until there was town meeting approval for funding. So they've ordered the lights, the casting will be all done, everything else will be done. But you'll see a new sidewalk, you'll see the widening of the road, you'll see all of that within the next 30 days or 45 days. And then come probably midwinter, you'll see them be able to install the new lights at that intersection.
Are those like 724s, or like it would be flashing like after a certain hour? Like, no, say if you're going down 106 this way, that way, like say like after 12 o'clock, they'll just be flashing, or like be directional, well.
Yes.
Just asking.
Yeah, no worries. So it would be a better conversation that I can have with the DPW director. Right now, everything that I have seen would still have it be signalized at all hours. But certainly, if there is traffic flow issues and we should turn those off, we can look at that. That's a simple thing to look at. And by all means, Neil, if you encounter that, let me know. River Street traffic study analysis. This was just a follow-up to a resident request that stated that she saw or observed additional traffic on River Street. This came before the board in early June. So I asked the police department in June and July to conduct a traffic study analysis. The report is in front of you. It's pretty comprehensive, but it says more than 85% of the people who drive down River Street are observing the speed limit at an average speed of 27 to 34 miles an hour. It's a posted 35. Based on the way Mass DOT regulations are, we wouldn't be able to amend the speed limit at that point because people are observing. The second thing that the report indicates is that there is not an increase of commercial traffic, and therefore would not be recommended to try to post something to prevent commercial traffic from going down that road. And the last item is that the police department includes that over the past, I think it was 3 years, but it might have been 5, that there's only been 5 accidents on that road, indicating that the accident count is actually vastly low. His final recommendation is that because there are no sidewalks on that road and it does lead to the park, and it is a residential area, is that through our Complete Streets program, is that hopefully that area is primarily targeted for sidewalks, because if there are sidewalks on there, then obviously that would be help to the pedestrians or any bicycle traffic.
Is 3,100 cars a day a lot?
According to what he's telling me, no. So, you know, if you do the analysis over 24 hours, it's only 100 an hour. Obviously, at night, it's skewed versus during the day. But, you know, then if you break it down by minute, you're only talking a couple of minutes. So apparently, that wouldn't be that much.
That electronic sign that was up that was checking your speed limit as you went by, this is how they did the study.
That is accurate.
I drive that street all the time to go back and forth to work, and that sign caused everyone to slow down. I will say, it was obvious. I mean, when you were behind them and you see the brake lights, me included.
Right.
As soon as I saw that, it made me more aware of my. I'm not telling you. But it did. It made me more aware of how fast I'm going. So I'm just wondering if this study is somehow tainted by the fact that people were aware their speed was being checked. Right, and then there was a police officer too, so you slowed down as well. So I'd almost like to leave that contraption up. I don't know if that's feasible or possible or how expensive they are, but I think in certain areas where they it's very residential and congested, if there's anything we can do to help with the traffic issue.
I talked to the chief briefly about it, about the equipment that he was using. It's new equipment. I was interested in knowing how other streets compared, but the only other street he used it on was Scotland Street. The average speed there with the same sign up was 10 miles over the limit.
Oh.
The average speed was 40, it's a 30. So that's the only other comparison we have right now,
Anthony,
though.
what is the speed limit in the town? Weymouth is like 30 or 35. I had to go to court on it. Boston just went to 30. Do we have it all in certain areas like 35?
I believe it's Chapter 90 that establishes a speed limit if it's not posted. Which I believe is 35 if it's not
some
posted.
streets are 40, down Manley Street, things like that.
Yeah, there's different speed limits all over, but I believe the unposted streets are established by Chapter 90 and it's 35 miles an hour.
Isn't part of River Street 25?
At both ends,
Right.
over by the park and by the stop sign at
Right.
South Elm.
Okay, so Old Bridgewater Place, again, this was an FYI to the board. The board had requested that I consult legal counsel and do a title research. We have done that. Again, that's before the Zoning Board of Appeals. They have all the information. But the title research came back saying that in that person's opinion, which is outside counsel, they concurred with legal counsel in reference to the easement issue. And the last is an update on Riverbend Golf Course. I only placed this on the agenda because this golf course has probably generated more rumors than anything else that I've ever heard. So I have heard the following rumors: that they have no liquor liability, false. I put it in the packet. They have no general liability, false. I put it in the packet. I've heard that they don't have a bond, false. I put it in the packet. I've heard that we have no money. We have $413,000 in the account. I've heard they're not making their payments. They always on the first of every quarter $83,250. They've never been late. So that's my report on the golf course.
I got something to say about that. more I play, the worse I get. They should have a sign, people respect that course. It is a good course, and for the people that go out there and they don't do what they're supposed to do, it's golf etiquette, it's a shame. But for what we're getting out of it, I think we made a right decision on that.
The landscaping has improved. I mean, the court maintenance has improved.
They're working on
Down
it.
there every night, just about.
Yeah,
18
I
bucks,
mean,
18
They're doing good.
dollars.
They're doing
They
well.
made a commitment of, what, $25,000 to invest into the car pass in the first 2 years or something along those lines?
$25,000 over 5 years. They've already started doing it. And I will tell you, because obviously I'm in touch with people who are in favor and were not in favor. There are some people in town that were not in favor, and they have told me that, to your point, the course is actually better than it was a year ago. Again, they didn't take the keys until July, but they didn't really get going until the fall, which their season was over. So this is, so I think they're doing a pretty good job, and they're paying us, and they're complying with the contract. And I think that was the message I wanted to get across.
Is there any ETA on replacing that tent with a solid structure facility?
So we attempted to negotiate that into the contract, but obviously based on economics, it was difficult. So what we put in there is that they would endeavor, if, based on profitability, that they would attempt to do something with it. I mean, look, if 5 years, 8 years from now, we see that they're extremely profitable, we can place some more pressure on them at that point. But I would think if they're that profitable, they're going to want to reinvest into themselves. And so far, they've proven to want to reinvest in themselves.
Hold more events.
David, quick question. On the bond, that equates to the amount of the mortgage, the remaining mortgage?
A little bit higher. It's $350,000. The mortgage is well, actually, they pay us $333. Our mortgage, I believe, is $280 or $287.
Okay, and the bond is for $350,000?
That is accurate.
Anything else?
I have none.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Well moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.